When looking at the history of Pokemon, it feels as if it tends to repeat itself. It's been known that since the XY era, we've always had a Charizard set within the first 3 sets. Today, we're going to be kind of looking at if history also tends to repeat itself when it comes to Pokemon reprints. Before we jump into the video, make sure you guys leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe if you want to enter into our weekly giveaways. Looking at the start of 2020, going into the year, you had reprints for both Unbroken Bonds and Unified Minds, and then ending the year of 2020, reprints for Hidden Fates. Funny enough, it was interesting to see those reprints happen. Cosmic was going to be a part of that, but it ended up getting short printed and put in a bunch of specialty items because supply chain started to cause massive issues with the Pokemon print runs. Ending the year of 2021, you had massive reprints for products such as Battle Styles, such as Chilling Reign, Darkness Ablaze, Vivid Voltage, Evolving Skies, Fusion, and these are just the booster boxes. You also had ETB reprints for Chilling Reign, Battle Styles, Evolving Skies, and so much more. These items were absolutely printed into the ground, but yet for some reason, in the year of 2022, the only booster box reprint we got was a small, tiny one of Evolving Skies that came in August. It did, in fact, move the price. It went from $120 all the way up to around $200. If you looked at the previous price history of the item itself when we're talking about market, and then the reprint itself brought it back down to around $120, $130, which, you know, that's good to see, but it's not as low as we would have kind of hoped for. But the demand for Evolving Skies is extremely high, so we can't be too surprised. But other than that, we had some ETB reprints in May for Vivid Voltage, Darkness Ablaze, as well as Shining Fates, and that was really kind of it. I guess if you want to consider the Charizard Ultra Premium Collection getting a ton of reprints to end the year, but that doesn't really seem fair because it's a new product, and so it wasn't the Pokemon Company going back and looking at specific sets and just kind of reprinting them. Then going into the year of 2023, things kind of changed up a little bit. It followed more of a pattern of 2020 and 2021. You had a small reprint for both Astral Radiance and Brilliant Stars going into May, and then for ending out the year of 2023, we had some reprints for Lost Origin, Silver Tempest, that also kind of tied in with some Scarlet and Violet booster box reprints. That's a little bit interesting. And then tons and tons of reprints for Crown Zenith, as well as 151. Now, talking about this overall, it just seems like a lot, and we're kind of breaking down just the items that were reprinted, but we're going to talk in depth and really micro analyze what kind of reprints happened and why. Going all the way back to the year of 2021 or ending out the year of 2020. The Pokemon Company had announced that they were going to be having some issues when it came to supply chains because of COVID, as well as the announcement of a wave system. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, historically speaking, Pokemon has always pushed out their product, usually based on just the overall demand. You go in as a retailer, put in pre-orders with your distributor, and then that distributor fulfills the product to demand as per your request. However, this was not how it was done, because with the shortage of supply and a drastic increase of demand in Pokemon product, they had to put it on a wave system, where typically you had multiple different waves of product released, with it sometimes being 2 waves, sometimes being 3 waves. It really ultimately came down to which set it was. Battle Styles being an example where it was a 3-wave system, and Chilling Reign being a 2-wave system. Talking about these 2 sets is important because Battle Styles was a set that was being pre-sold for $150. It had its second wave, which dropped the price down into the low 100s before it eventually shot up to around $120, $130. And then its third wave, coincidentally enough, ended up getting delayed. Chilling Reign is another good example as well, because it was also pre-selling for around $140, $150. This time it didn't get a second reprint, but the price of course did crash, because after its initial release and supply was being put onto the market, it went down to $120, but the reprint or the second wave never really came until 6 months later, all at once, to end the year of 2021. I know a lot of people might think, oh, Chilling Reign, Battle Styles, these sets have been massively overprinted, but ultimately they really haven't. They just got their final waves to round out the year after they had been delayed for anywhere between 4 to 6 months, depending upon which set we're looking at. Evolving Skies as well, being a part of one of those sets that was on a wave system. It got its initial wave ending off August, and then going into September, October, it got its final 2 waves early. Fusion Strike was supposed to be on a 3-wave system, but ended up getting all of its waves at once. And since then, Fusion Strike hasn't seen any significant reprint, and Evolving Skies, as mentioned before, did have its reprint going into August of 2022, but it was such a tiny one, it didn't feel like it should have been, that small. You saw prices for Evolving Skies after its initial reprint go to as low as $100, or I should say after its initial 3 waves were released. And so for it to go to not nearly as low as that on the second time around was disappointing, but still nonetheless an opportunity. Then going into the year with Brilliant Stars, Astral Radiance, Lost Origin, and Silver Tempest. As mentioned previously, there wasn't any booster box reprints other than the one Evolving Skies, and so prices just continue to go up for Sword and Shield era product. And since then, there has been no sort of news of Fusion Strike, Chilling Reign, Battle Styles, Evolving Skies, and other booster box reprints that are technically still in rotation and could possibly be reprinted anytime. At this point, do we think it's going to happen because these sets are about 3 years old? It feels very unlikely, and if we look at what the Pokemon Company has reprinted most recently in the year of 2023, we did get that small reprint for Brilliant and Astral, which did affect the price. Once again, not as much as we would like, but enough to where it did help a little bit. And then the Lost Origin and Silver Tempest reprint to kind of end out the year going into October, where we had reprints for Lost Origin Silver Tempest booster boxes tied to needing to pick up Scarlet and Violet booster boxes if you wanted to be able to get them at wholesale prices. Speaking of wholesale prices, if you guys want to ever take advantage of getting Pokemon at wholesale, I highly recommend you guys checking down the link in the description below and joining our wholesale program. We've got tons of opportunities for you guys to be able to start your own side hustle business or just have supply for Pokemon product at an extremely cheap, deeply discounted rate that we're charging you guys of what we're buying it at cost. Also, to end out the year of 2023, we did have reprints for ETBs of Crown Zenith and 151 as mentioned previously, but it was interesting to see because 151 was already an extremely new set. Why didn't Pokemon focus on reprinting other items? It's kind of a mystery. And another mystery that I feel like is worth discussing is why wasn't there really any booster box reprints in 2022? A big thing that a lot of people kind of discuss, or at least theorize, is that it must be because of the transition between yellow borders to silver borders. That's kind of the best guess that a lot of people have, and what really makes the most sense, because if you're going to force people to pick up Scarlet and Violet base when the price is already close to wholesale, and it did eventually bring the price to below wholesale by more than $10 after it was reprinted, what's your general incentive there? And the Pokemon Company has been very, very avid about pushing their competitive card playing game, and so for them, it makes sense for them to do that from this perspective, where they want to get as many of the competitive cards out to the players, and the only way they can see about doing this is by taking some high demand sets that, Lost Origin was pushing almost $200, Silver Tempest pushing $160 at the time before it got its reprint, and using that as a way to tie it to forcing people to pick up Scarlet and Violet product and sell it. Ultimately, you have this, 2020, 2021 year period of booster boxes being massively reprinted, skip 2022 going into 2023. Is it going to be one of these things where we see ultimate reprint for booster boxes that are going to be tied in the year of 2024 to Scarlet and Violet product? It's kind of hard to say since all of the booster boxes are about to go out of rotation for the year of 2021 Sword and Shield era. 2022 Sword and Shield era product, which once again, that's Astral Radiance, Brilliant Star, Lost Origin, Silver Tempest, are still in rotation, and it seems very unlikely for them to reprint these items, but you never want to rule it out as long as it is in the standard rotation. But the Pokemon Company is going to have an answer for how they're going to sell a lot of the Scarlet and Violet era booster boxes that are currently listed on the market, because all of them are either in the low 100s or at wholesale prices. So the demand is just extremely low, and it doesn't really make sense for them to just continuously reprint 151 and Crown Zenith, which are the two latest specialty sets with high demand. I don't know what their kind of expectation is with this. Paldean Fates is going to obviously be coming out, which it feels like a pretty quick turnaround time for them to just knock out two specialty sets within a 6-month period. Historically speaking, going back to it, we've only had that really happen one other time, and that was Champion's Path going into Shining Fate. So maybe it is going to be a new trend, but regardless, the demand for Paldean Fates is not extremely high. I mean, ETBs are already pre-selling for $40. To be fair, Crown Zenith pre-sold for that, but I just have seen a lot of negativity more or less around the set. So I don't know what the Pokemon Company's kind of plan is, but it'll be interesting to see what 2024 has for us when it comes for reprints. I want this video to be more or less used for you guys as a guide to going back and looking at the history of the reprints that happened over the past 4 years and kind of asking the question, do we think history is going to repeat itself, or is the Pokemon Company not as predictable as we may seem? To me, it seems pretty clear where we just had kind of an anomaly year of 2022 with the Silver Border transition, and we kind of had catch-up play in May with the reprints, which usually would be ETB reprints during the time, which Pokemon Company tends to have in the springtime, but instead it was swapped out for booster boxes to make up for the lack of reprints during 2022, and then finishing off the year with the Lost Origin Silver Tempest reprints. Who knows what's going to be reprinted in 2024? Only time is going to tell. But once again, I hope you guys appreciate the video. Make sure to leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to enter into weekly giveaways. But until then, I'll see you all in the next video.